Football today shaped by global migration. In Europe alone, the number of expats reached a record level in 2018. 41.5% play in the clubs and leagues around the continent. That's almost every second player. Take a look at the international top clubs.
A bit less than half of Bayern's squad are foreigners. Slightly more than half of Liverpool's team too. The same goes for Barcelona. And at Juventus, a solid majority in the squad are non-Italians.
Migratory routes have become an essential part of football. I wonder, how do these routes look like?
I want to know, why do footballers migrate and where do they go?
Do you know this book, Around the World in 80 Days? Well, this is Around the World in 10 minutes.
How many professional footballers play abroad? Over 13,000 out of the 60,000 around the world.
And the vast majority of them, over 9,000, play in Europe.
The average age of first migration abroad in Europe stands at 21.8 years today. Migrating players are as young as never before.
Little surprise here. Professional football has a solid anchoring in Europe. Actually, there are people crazy enough to publish entire studies about footballers going abroad. For example, the Switzerland-based football observatory CIES.
Terrible colors, I know. But hey, they produce great data.
First of all, which is the country the most tourists travel to? Correct! It's France. Around 90 million people travel to the country with their tower each year, a good bottle of wine and maybe a selfie with Kylian Mbappé, who did not go abroad. Yet. Next on this list are Spain and the United States of America.
But which country imports the most footballers, I wonder? Also France, maybe?
Professional footballers have other preferences.
Their top destination is England. Over 700 foreign players are to be found in the English professional leagues.
That's maybe because of the weather, but surely because of the level and rather competitive salaries. Nobody knows how Brexit will affect this. By the way, Doc Johnson, how many foreigners in your favorite club?
Top destination number 2, Italy. More than 600 players enjoy their footballing life in Bella Italia.
Italy would even be number 1 if players from Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland in England were not counted as foreigners.
Technically speaking, they are not, but I'm sure many of you know that all of these UK entities have their own football associations.
And who is number 3? Germany? China? Qatar? All wrong. Number 3, the United States of America. Now, that's a great analogy to the list of top tourist destinations. Maybe I should call the guys from the observatory?
Almost 600 players are bound to make America great again. I mean, strictly football-wise.
The MLS will be enlarged from now 24 to 30 teams by the time of the World Cup 2026, which will take place in the USA, Canada and Mexico. Now, more clubs will mean more foreign players, because these new clubs have to be made attractive and competitive, fast.
The list of principal importing countries continues with a whole range of European nations: Spain, Portugal, Turkey, Germany, Belgium, France and Greece. Only in 11th place comes the next non-European country, Mexico. The first African nation on that list, on position 29, is South Africa. The first Asian country is Japan, ranked 31st. So, a short recap. The top import nations are England, Italy and the USA.
So what does this say? Europe rules everything? Yes and no. Just to remind you, the last 4 world champions were all European. And one reason for this might be found in the next statistic. Because if you look at the country which sends the most players abroad, a new continent comes into the game.
The clear winner here is Brazil. Over 1,300 Brazilians play in 150 leagues around the world. At the last World Cup, Brazil had only 3 players on its team who earned their money back home in Brazil. Was Brazil eliminated in the quarterfinals against Belgium because of that?
Despite this, the high number of Brazilians going abroad certainly reflects the unique role Brazil has in supplying footballers worldwide. Then again, the country has 200 million inhabitants. If we look, however, at the correlation between number of inhabitants and number of footballers going abroad, the number 1 footballers exporting nation of the world is Iceland. More than 50 Icelanders play abroad, while the country only has 350,000 inhabitants. Now, that is 0.014% of the population of Iceland. In Brazil, that share is 0.0006%. Iceland in the lead, Montenegro second, Uruguay third, if you look at it this way. Let's take it back to the number of players and forget about correlations for the moment. So who follows Brazil on that list as the main exporting nation?
France is number 2, Argentina number 3. Both have close to 900 professional players in action abroad. So the top export nations are Brazil, France and Argentina.
If you think this is all kind of predictable, have a look at number 4.
Number 4 is Serbia. Never won anything internationally or came even close. Then again, it only has been a country in this shape since 2006.
Why is Serbia number 4, ahead of countries such as England, Colombia or Nigeria? Explanation number 1. 50 out of some 450 Serbs playing abroad are contracted in neighboring countries of the former Yugoslavia, such as Bosnia-Herzegovina. That means family, friends, well-known environments are close, and people around them speak the same or a similar language.
The remaining 400 Serbs are spread out pretty much all over the world. Europe, Russia, Kazakhstan, Hong Kong and counting. Serbia has only 7 million inhabitants, but is a surprisingly strong export country.
Take this, Brazil, France and Argentina. By the way, all these statistics we heard so far have nothing to do with real life. Which nations you think have the biggest diasporas?
In general, 10.6 million Russians live abroad, 13 million Mexicans and 16 million Indians.
So these were the most basic facts. Are you still with me? You are? Great!
Which are the big migratory routes?
Brazilians conquered the world in big numbers. But where do they go to? I was kind of surprised when I found out what their main destination is.
Over 250 Brazilians play in professional leagues in Portugal. Here too, like in the case of the Serbs, language plays an important factor. Why is that? In the year 1500, the older of you might remember, Portugal claimed Brazil upon the arrival of its fleet there. In 1822, Brazil declared its independence from Portugal.
Now, that has been a while too, but both countries until today speak Portuguese and share a privileged relationship. So the biggest migratory route in world football is also a reflection of colonial past. Has it turned the Portuguese league into a powerhouse though? Not really. Plus, many in Brazil complain that young talents leave too early. They should play at home, make the local league stronger.
The second most important migratory route is from Argentina to Chile. Over 100 fellow countrymen of Messi went across the Andes. Didn't help though.
How many times have Chilean teams won the Copa Libertadores? Not that often, once to be precise, and that was 28 years ago. Still, the Chilean league seems to offer plenty for those Argentinians who can't make it to their top teams at home or in Europe.
Many Argentinians also chose Mexico, almost 100. Rather far away, but at least they can speak Spanish there.
Is it always about language and culture?
In the next case, definitely. Almost 80 Germans went to play in Turkey. The big majority are of ethnic Turkish origin. Exceptions to that rule? Oh yes. Among the top 10 migratory routes around the world, one clearly stands out. Almost 100 French players chose to try their luck in England.
Here, for a change, it's not about culture or language. Here it's about proximity, about status, and obviously in the end also about money.
These are the top migratory routes. Language and culture greatly influence on a decision where to go.
So what does all this mean for the respective clubs and leagues? Are they all overrun by foreigners? First of all, expatriates are not divided equally throughout the world, including in Europe, where most of them play.
But which league has the most foreigners per club in Europe? Take a guess. It's Cyprus, which has 17 per team on average.
But it is hardly much different in one of Europe's top leagues, Italy's Serie A.
There it's 16 on average per team. Next up, Portugal, Turkey, Belgium and of course the Premier League. The percentage of players having grown up in England has progressively fallen in recent years. It has reached a new negative record last season. Almost 67% are foreigners now.
Continental European players are more numerous on Premier League pitches than UK nationals. I'm getting confused here. Aren't Premier League and Serie A pretty cool leagues with attractive football and high attendances? Do they not profit from all this foreign talent?
Then again, La Liga in Spain is among the European leagues with the lowest percentage of foreigners on the pitch, only 40% actually.
But La Liga is a top league as well. Honestly, I'm lost. One thing is for sure, it's not all that simple. What about things such as identification with your club or organic growth of a team? What about stability? Or is it just new players from all over every year? There are regulations in the European top 5 leagues, though, when it comes to foreign players.
In the German Bundesliga, a team needs to have at least 12 German nationals on its squad. In Spanish La Liga, it's a maximum of 3 non-EU nationals per team.
Count players such as Messi and Suarez out, though, because the Argentinian also has a Spanish passport and the Uruguayan an Italian one.
In Premier League, there are no regulations yet when it comes to EU players. At least there, teams need to have 8 so-called homegrown players. Until 2020, that number will be enlarged to 12. In France, it's 4 non-EU nationals per team. In Italy, it's 4 players born in Italy and 4 at least homegrown ones.
But is all this enough? Or is it not that big of a problem? What do you think? How does football benefit from migration? Should there be stricter rules? Or should there be no borders at all? Let me know in the comments. Phew, guys, I need a holiday after this. I tell you that. Yeah, where should I go? France? Like the other 90 million people? Good idea, because then I could ask Kylian Mbappé how much longer he's going to stay in France. Statistically speaking, he has 2 more years, and then he will go abroad. And even though statistics kind of suggest that he could get a very good contract in Cyprus and play with a lot of foreigners there, I have a strong feeling he just won't go there.